Okay, judges, I'll go ahead and looks like I got the streaming working. Let me double check. Yes. So I'll go ahead and admit the parties in.
Okay, sounds good.
Welcome back, everyone. We're ready to proceed. So if you can, please turn on your cameras.
Okay, are we all here?
Yes.
Very good, very good. Just to explain, the judge messed up me. I started the meeting too early, so that messed everything up. So, anyways, welcome to the Office of Tax Appeals. Good morning. My name is Tommy Leung. I will be the lead judge, means I will be running this hearing, but for purposes of deciding this case, Judges Stanley and Lamb are with me on the panel today, and we all will be equal participants for deciding the case. Lynn Alonso is our stenographer. She will be preparing a verbatim transcript of today's hearing. For that purpose, we ask that everybody speak clearly at a normal pace, and please do not talk over each other. And best practice is to mute your microphones if not speaking. A transcript will be ready when Ms. Alonso completes it, and that will be placed on OTA's webpage. Um, we do have one more housekeeping thing to do before we go on the record. The Franchise Tax Board has submitted about a week or two ago a memorandum containing three more exhibits, exhibits T as in Tom, U, and V as in Victor. And those exhibits are IRS account transcripts for the appellants. Lieutenant Rivers, do you have any objections to those three exhibits? I guess I should ask, did you receive those exhibits?
Uh, you are cutting in and out, Your Honor. I don't know if it's your audio or.
Is this better?
Yes, I don't know if anybody else could not hear that. It was cutting in and out for me. So yes, that was better.
Okay. I must have the mic a little bit off to the side, so I will be more careful about that.
So
So
I under
my question to you was, the FDB has submitted a memorandum containing three exhibits, T, U, and V. And number one, whether you received those exhibits, and number two, whether you object to them.
I believe I received them, yes. I do
Okay.
not object.
Okay. So I will get those omitted with the rest of the exhibits as was discussed at the pre-hearing conference. And I think I've done all the housekeeping I'm going to do today. We're about ready to go on the record. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're on the record. Um, Today is August 15th, 2024, approximately 9:45 in the morning. OTA case number 23031280, the appeal of Rivers concerning the 2015, 2016, 2017 taxable years. Prior to this hearing, during a pre-hearing conference and a bit afterwards, the parties agreed to the following. Number one, to conduct this hearing virtually. Number two, that the issue to be decided is whether the claims for refund for 2015, 2016, and 2017 were timely. Number 3, exhibits submitted by both parties, namely for the appellants, exhibits 1 through 10, and for the respondent, exhibits A through V as in Victor, are all admitted into evidence. This hearing is being live streamed, so everyone please be aware of that when discussing personal matters. Before we begin, I would ask the parties to state their appearances, beginning with Lieutenant Rivers.
Yes, my name is Leslie Rivers, retired lieutenant from the city of Long Beach.
Welcome. Mr. Rivers?
Mickey Rivers, husband, and I guess co-appellate for Leslie.
Yeah, sounds good. Franchise Tax Board.
This is Paige Chang with the Franchise Tax Board. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Maria Brosterhouse, also
Good.
with the Franchise Tax Board.
Good morning. With me on the panel today is Judge Teresa Stanley and Judge Eddie Lamb. We are going to, at least before I let the Lieutenant Rivers begin her presentation, I'm going to ask Lieutenant and Mr. Rivers to please raise your right hands if you'll be witnesses today. And please repeat after, please raise your right hand. Oh, that's nice music.
Sorry.
Do you, Lieutenant Rivers, do you, Mickey Rivers, swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Lieutenant?
Yes.
Okay. So you put your right hand down. So the hearing, Lieutenant, you can begin your presentation when ready. You have 10 minutes to present. Mr. Rivers has 5 minutes to testify. So please begin when ready.
Yes, again, Your Honor, I don't know if it's my iPad or I'm virtually cutting in and out, and there's some pictures frozen. So hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Yes, you can. Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you again for the Office of Tax Appeal to having this process for the appellant's tax papers to appeal. In my documents, I did present, it's rather long, of the history of what I went through with the city of Long Beach after retiring with many injuries. Through that process, I had to appear for several doctor appearances through that due to several injuries. That included independent medical examiners certified through the state of California, regular doctors. I did obtain an attorney. And this started in December, the date I filed, December 31st, 2014 with the city of Long Beach, completing almost 31 years in the system of the CalPERS system, the retirement system. Through this, as I said, going through many different doctors, there were several that were certified orthopedic surgeons that concluded that I could not continue service in my regular job occupation. I was incapable of doing that. That is one of the criteria that the state of workers' comp requires, that you cannot continue for if it's 12 months or longer. So, and I'm trying to make this short because it's pretty redundant of all the pages that have been submitted to show my timeline. So, pension system that I belong to, and including December when I first retired, had sent several letters to the city stating they needed a response, their decision, whether they accepted or denied my application for retirement. There was no response, and in the documents I presented, obviously they had to discontinue. The city did not answer. That is one tactic that the city has employed, and it's not only with me, with several retired and currently to this day. So we're now in 2016, and per my attorney, I had to file another application for retirement, and those documents are in my evidence, and that was January of 2016. So that's a year and a month that, or 2014, 15, yes, a year and a month that, again, I had to wait. So I could not file amended taxes, obviously, because there was no decision. So this process continued, going on and on and on. During this time, all these years, my husband and I has filed our regular taxes, sometimes early, most of the time early, and I don't believe we were ever late, as I did not receive a decision on my disability. The city responded sometime in late 2016 to start going through doctors again to determine disability. This is a long process. And again, my documents of evidence, there's quite a few pages, have determined on the doctors that I was incapable of returning to my job and in that capacity, including one of their independent medical examiners who's certified by the state. So orthopedic surgeon. Again, moving fast forward, through this whole time of 7.5 years until I had the response from the city, there was a virtual meeting of May. During all this time, the city continued to delay, reschedule, for whatever reason, several doctor appointments, hearings, workers' comp hearings. So again, you can see I had no control over this to file with the timely amended tax because I had no decision. So in April of 2022, I believe, we finally had a virtual meeting, and luckily one of the independent medical examiners was available, who was one of the ones that the city had agreed to, and my attorney to make this determination. It was the same one I had seen three appointments prior since 2014. He appeared in person, determined, yes, I'm incapable. And after a lengthy virtual, the meeting was cut off, and about a week and a half later, I received the call I was awarded that disability. And this was in May of 2022, 2 weeks after the virtual. So again, I filed December 2014, going through all the administrative process that I'm supposed to, cooperating, traveling to these doctor appointments. And finally, you see how long it took. And then not to mention COVID. COVID kind of strained the system, and that was all court systems, at least for workers' comp. I don't know about criminal or civil. I do know COVID delayed any type of appearance for the workers' comp hearing judge to hear my case, even in virtual, and that was about 6 months, I was told, my attorney. So by the time that went, again, you know, this was prior to the May 22 decision. Out of my hands, out of my control. I could not file anything. I couldn't even guess what to file. We were all waiting for this. So in May of 2022, I was finally granted the disability. Immediately got a hold of our tax person and did the amended taxes to file that, and that was on record from the state of OTA. And within a few months, basically got the ball rolling and was able to receive those that I could have, which was 4 years prior. And I'd like to note, even up to that April 22nd meeting, virtual meeting, that the city again tried to delay the meetings for whatever reason. Again, I was ready and available. Pretty much that sums up that whole process. Basically, it's delays by the city that I had no control of, we had no control of. I appeared as opposed to with no excuses. So come time to filing the appeal or the amended taxes for 15, 16, and 17, we filed jointly. It was past the time limit, which I understand because in normal circumstances, that would be the case. As you can see, we had no information at all to file any amended taxes until April or May of 2022. Here I am today, here we are today, trying to follow for this. CalPERS has decided retroactively to award the industrial disability back to December 14. So any type of payments of refund or claims is actually part of my retirement industrial medical disability that was basically owed to me by the city. It's not a case of 2 years that this was settled. It had been 2 years and we wouldn't be here today. We've been, 4 years, past 4 years, we wouldn't be here today. So I appreciate your time, and I hope that kind of clarified. I knew I have a lot of documents here. This is all I can present is my timeline of delay, which was basically and virtually out of my hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Questions for Lieutenant Rivers from the Franchise Tax Board?
No questions, thank you.
Judge Stanley, any questions for Lieutenant Rivers?
Thank you. I do not have questions at this time.
Okay, Judge Lamb, any questions for the Lieutenant Rivers?
No questions at this moment. Thank you.
Okay, I'll hold my questions until Mr. Rivers testifies. Lieutenant, do you plan to have Mr. Rivers testify?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay, go right ahead.
Good morning, everybody. I pretty much can't say anything better than what my wife has mentioned, but I do have a couple of points I'd like to throw out. Again, in the beginning, when she filed her retirement pending medical, I was actually there when she did it, and she put a big X in the box. And then 2 years later, basically the city of Long Beach came back and called her a liar, and she had to resubmit that application. And then miraculously, they found it and went, oh, so that's a 2-year delay that we had no control over. But I was kind of appalled the fact that here you got an employee who's 20, almost 30 years with the city, and they basically call her a liar. And turned out she didn't lie. When she decided to retire, it's not that she went, oh, I had enough, it's time to move on. No, she spent most of her time in the field. And I want to make this one quick comment. When she got hired as a police officer, and this was the argument for the city in trying to, partially of why they were trying to delay awarding her, is once she promoted, she went to school, promoted up as a sergeant and then lieutenant, she spent most of her career out in the field. And that's why she got hurt. She didn't have 1 or 2 injuries. She had quite a few. And I was kind of surprised when the city, in her appeal for her medical retirement, they had a list of all her injuries, and she had quite a few, and she has. I mean, she was a female motor officer, the first and only female motor officer in the history of the department. And they've been around over 100 years. And some of the other injuries, including her back, her knees, and what have you. But I found it kind of surprising. They left out the most important, and as a husband, the most important and significant injury that most people they kind of forgot. But my wife got shot on the job. Her and her partner were ambushed by some gangsters, and they shot at her police car with an AK-47. And luckily, my wife was only 5'4" because a bullet grazed the top of her head. And yet she still came back and went to work. So even though she started out first and foremost as a police officer, she also promoted as a sergeant, as supervisor, and lieutenant. She was still out in the field doing police work because that was her primary responsibility. She's still a lieutenant, but a police officer and doing her job. And the city continued to delay and delay. We filed our taxes in a timely manner, and they did everything they could. It's kind of like they want to wear you down. And we know it's not the state of California's fault, but we also know in every organization, and even in the civil code, the penal code, you do have laws, but are they enforced to the spirit of the law or the letter of the law? We know there are exceptions. When a police officer stops somebody for speeding, do you have to write them a citation? No, you have that discretion. And that's where the spirit of law comes in. It wasn't anything that we did on purpose, to admit trying to hide something. We've always been law abiding, and we pay our taxes on time, and we both served our community. We both worked for the police department. I left early, and took another job, but it's just. But my wife's been through a lot. Even some of the IME doctors that she had to go to, they made her drive like 30, 40 miles just to go see a doctor. Because they want to wear you down, and that's how the city is. And I know it has nothing to do with the state. or, the court system. But, when you add that along with COVID and other delays, they did what they could to wear her down. And luckily she had the fortitude, and I look back the day when she got shot. She was a fighter. She fought then, and she continues to fight. She's a strong woman. And, I realize a lot of things that she does around here is because she's a strong individual, and I wouldn't have anybody else by my side but my wife. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Any questions from the Franchise Tax Board for Mr. Rivers?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Judge Stanley?
I don't have questions. Thank you for your presentations.
Judge
Thank
Lamb?
you.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna let the Franchise Tax Board make their presentation first, and then I will have questions at the end. Ms. Chang?
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Paige Chang, along with my co-counsel Maria Brosterhouse, representing the Franchise Tax Board. The issue on appeal is whether appellants timely filed their claims for refund for the 2015, 2016, and 2017 tax years prior to the expiration of the statute of limitations. The statute of limitations prohibits respondent from crediting or refunding an overpayment when a claim for refund is not filed within 4 years of the due date of the return, within 4 years from the date the return was filed, if it was filed within the extension period, or within 1 year from the date of overpayment, whichever is later. The statute of limitations does not have a reasonable cause exception. In a statute of limitations claim for refund, the taxpayer has the burden of proof. Here in this case, appellants explained that appellant Leslie Rivers claimed industrial disability retirement in 2014. However, due to delays in a lengthy dispute with her employer, she did not receive the determination of industrial disability retirement until 2022. In October of 2022, appellants filed their amended tax returns for 2015, 16, and 17, which FTB treated as appellants' claim for refund for each of the respective tax years. Appellants' amended tax returns reflected the industrial disability retirement such that the industrial disability payments were excluded from income as workers' compensation, which resulted in a credit of withholding payments on each tax year, 2015, 2016, and 2017. However, payments made by withholding are deemed paid on the due date of the return. Further, appellants did not file a protective claim to protect the timeliness of their claims for refund. Therefore, appellants filed their claims for refund after the expiration of both the 1-year statute of limitations and the 4-year statute of limitations. In addition, at the pre-hearing conference, OTA requested a response to the issue of whether claims for refund were filed with the IRS, and if so, what the outcome was. For tax year 2015, appellant's account transcript does not reflect a claim for refund. For tax year 2016, the account transcript shows that the IRS denied a claim in 2023. And for the 2017 tax year, the account transcript shows that the IRS also denied a claim in 2023. Based on the foregoing, respondent's denial of appellant's claims for refund was proper under the statute of limitations, and FTB's position should be sustained. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Chang. Judge Stanley, any questions for the Franchise Tax Board?
I do not have questions for the Franchise Tax Board. Thank you.
You're welcome. Judge Lamb, any questions for the Franchise Tax Board?
No questions at this time, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lieutenant, you have 5 minutes to make any closing arguments or closing remarks. Okay, Lieutenant, can you hear me?
Your Honor, you're cutting, yeah, Your Honor, you're cutting in and out again. All I heard was closing remarks.
Yes, do you have any, you have 5 minutes for closing remarks, if you have any. Huh.
Yeah, yes, I wanted to point out just a couple things really quick. Hello?
Yeah, I'm not sure who was cutting out, but we lost you for maybe a few seconds.
Yeah,
So you,
maybe it's the internet, I don't know.
yeah.
I do have a couple statements on, I'm not. Everybody's frozen on my screen. I don't hear anybody.
I can hear you perfectly well right now,
Oh.
but you was about to say something right before that. You were having some sort of a, what you call those things on your buffering issues.
Buffering, yes.
Yeah.
I do have a couple
Lieutenant,
statements.
Lieutenant, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
I think it's your computer because everybody else is clear and you keep freezing. If you turn off your camera, you might be able to speak better, have more bandwidth for speaking. If you want to try that.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you, Judge Stanley.
Thank you. Okay, so is this better?
It's sounding good. And we just lost her.
Still cutting out. Can you hear me, Judge?
Yes. And we just lost her.
You can hear me?
Mm-hmm. I hear you now.
Okay, I'm just gonna make a couple quick closing statements. May I go now?
Yes.
Okay, obviously you've seen, okay. Black and white, yes, there is a time limit. Again, there's extenuating circumstances in our case, our case, regarding the protection of violent claim. We had no knowledge of this. CPA accountant didn't advise us. The city didn't advise us. In fact,
Okay.
I had to call my attorney to find out how to go about getting.
Okay, we just lost her. Oh, she's back. Okay,
She's not back yet, Judge.
oh, is it possible to get her on the phone instead?
There, now she's back.
Yeah,
Okay.
I walked into a different room.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Really quick, may I continue? Let me
Yes,
start
you
over.
may.
Okay,
Probably
thank
start
you.
from the beginning.
It's really quick. I appreciate this for the process again. I do understand there are black and white rules. We do understand this is an extenuating circumstance that was out of our control, as you can see my timeline. Had this been within the 4 years, obviously we would have been in this position. But I do want to make a point that the term protection of claim was never brought up to us by the city of Long Beach. We had no knowledge of it. In layman terms, we don't go through the tax rules and stuff as we file. We gather our taxes and we give them to our CPA, our accountant. In this case, extenuating circumstances obviously prevented us from filing amended taxes as a decision was not made until 2022. So us not even having the knowledge or even know what that was, going year to year to year, thinking the next year would go, the next year would be it, the next year. Here we are 7.5 years later is when I was awarded that. So I don't know how a regular lay person would know that unless somebody of that occupation would advise us, which that did not. So pretty much that's it. I understand the rules. I understand the rules of evidence. But again, I was going year to year thinking that this would be settled. Had we known that, obviously we would have done that. We're very timely in all our documents and such and organized. So basically that's it, but I thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Lieutenant Rivers. Judge Stanley, any questions for either party?
No, thank you. Not at this time.
Thank you. Judge Lamb, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, I do have some questions. I'll go first to the Franchise Tax Board. Ms. Chang, you mentioned protective claims. So how would that have worked in this particular case?
Thank you. Generally, a protective claim can be filed by filing an amended return, and you can write or put a label at the top, just saying protective claim, and that will allow you to wait for any pending decisions that affect the tax return.
So the
you.
taxpayer would file, I guess, a 540X and then put down protective claim, then they would have to explain why they're filing that claim. Is that the
Yes,
gist of
that's
it?
correct. Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Thank you.
Okay. Lieutenant, the Franchise Tax Board's account transcripts indicate IRS refund claims for 17 and 2017, 2016, but they doesn't tell us what those refund claims were. So were those refund claims to get your disability pay, get the refund for that, or was it for some other purpose?
That was done in 2022. That was refund for the claims on disability.
Okay, and IRS denied you. Is that correct?
Correct.
So what happened to 2015? Did you not file a claim for 2015?
No, we did file our regular taxes 15, 16, and 17,
Mhm.
but having no knowledge of a protective claim at all.
Mhm.
So we continued the years filing our regular taxes, and it wasn't until the amended the decision came out in 2022 that we went back to file for the claim of industrial disability.
I was wondering, you filed the IRS refund claim for 2016, 2017, but there's nothing in the transcript that says you filed a refund claim with the IRS for 2015.
There, for a regular tax claim, there's 2015, 16, and 17. And I believe Ms. Chang had submitted that, maybe the transcripts. There is 15, 16, 17, and we also filed 15, 16, 17. Regular tax refund.
Interesting, because her Exhibit T, as in Tom, shows nothing filed, no refund claims filed after 2022 for 2015 year. So you might want to double check with the IRS, see what happened with that refund claim. Now the process, I understand you filed for retirement in 2014 with the city. Tell me about how that works with CalPERS. I mean, CalPERS is the one who decided that, okay, we're gonna give you amended 1099s to make all these changes. So does CalPERS rely on the city to present all the documents? How does that work?
So from what my understanding, obviously I'm the work for CalPERS, but the pension system, they have a process, a due process, and that's in any type of disability or any type of claim with the city. Since it's funded by the retirement is funded by CalPERS, paid by the city, half and half is what I understand. Is once you file for retirement or / industrial, I actually with my family went to the city of Orange here in California to personally file that to ensure that this process isn't disturbed, which in fact it was, because the city never said, they stamp it, it's in my exhibits, industrial, within I think it was the 14th, I filed December 14th of 2014. I don't have my paper with me. December 18th, there's 2 letters that were sent by CalPERS that sends it to the city of Long Beach. They know we've received the industrial disability. You have 6 months to respond. CalPERS cannot do anything without the city determining the industrial disability. So it went on, and then saying that they never received it, I never filed it, when in fact I had the stamped paper from CalPERS. Again, a delay tactic. Then I had to refile. So from there, the same process, they send letters, and it took quite a few months for the city to basically up and acknowledge that I'm filing for industrial. And there's nothing on the city at that time, because there's a process that has to be determined by medical examiners, state certified orthopedic surgeons of the workers' comp system. That's agreed by both parties. Basically, the CalPERS waits on the city. They can't make the determination on their own. So that's the process.
So when did CalPERS ask for a ruling from the IRS? There's some mentioned in the letter from CalPERS that they got some ruling from the IRS that said this qualifies. So when did CalPERS begin that process?
They're quoting, if I believe, again, I don't have my paper in front of me because I'm in a different room. Once you're speaking of when it was awarded and accepted, the industrial disability.
Well, we know that you testify about when the city finally said yes, you qualify. I'm wondering when CalPERS, well, somebody wrote to the IRS and asked them for a ruling according to that CalPERS letter, and I'm curious as to when that request to the IRS was made.
I'm a little confused on that. I'm not sure that I don't know the procedure if they do in fact do that. I know they quoted some sections of IRS in the determination of an industrial disability, and I believe there's a section in the tax code for industrial disability. And I read through all this after fighting this, that CalPERS did state it's retroactive to my retirement date, December 14th. I can't answer for CalPERS administratively if they contact the IRS. I know I did speak with a tax person there, and he went through the numbers and said, yes, you need to file amended taxes, but here I have to compute the correct, if you're going to file an amended for 15, 16, 17, all the way through 22, here's what this should be. This is what should have been done had you been awarded your industrial disability in December of 2014. So me personally, I can't speak for them if administratively, if they contact IRS personally. I don't think so. I think they're used to these procedures and what they have to do. So obviously, and that wasn't done until I was awarded in May of 2022. So all through that, before I filed it in October of 22, these prior years, I was still waiting from them. So I know one of their letters did say the IRS requires something. So obviously they deal with it on a daily basis with it, because CalPERS is a rather large retirement pension system.
Yes. When you filed your 2015, 16, 2017 tax returns, you did that through a CPA?
Correct. Our tax person, yes.
And did you inform that CPA that you were going through this battle with the city to get your disability
We did.
approved?
Yes, sir, we did.
Okay. I assume you're not appealing the 2018, 2019, 2020 years. You've got those refund claims approved?
Correct, because I believe the state goes back 4 years, so I was able to retrieve that.
Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant. Back to Franchise Tax Board. Ms. Chang, am I reading those transcripts, T, U, and V correctly, that T shows nothing regarding a refund claim for that year with the IRS?
Yes, that's correct. It looks like after the 2022 year, there is not another claim.
Okay. That's all my questions. I'll go one more time to my colleagues, Judge Stanley, anything?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, Judge Lamb, anything?
Also, no questions, thank you.
Okay, that will conclude our hearing for today. I'm going to close the record. I want to thank everybody for appearing today and apologize for technical difficulties. OTA and this panel will strive to get a decision out to everybody within 100 days. Again, the transcript, when finished, will appear on our webpage. And again, this hearing will come to a close. Thank you, everybody. And
Your Honor,
next, yes,
I'm
Lieutenant?
sorry. I think my husband, if he's allowed, wanted to clear up something on the 2015 statement. I don't know if he would allow that.
Sure. I'll open it up for Mr. Rivers. What'd you like to testify to, sir?
Actually, one question. You mentioned the 540X
Yes.
state form, which I'm not aware of, but it looks like, if I'm correct, that's the California explanation of amended return change. Is that correct?
Well,
According to the Franchise Tax Board?
well, a 540X is what you would file as a claim for refund. So
Correct.
your 540 is your original return. If you want to amend that return and change whatever you want to change to, you would file a 540X.
All right. Well, the question I had, my concern was that the protection of claim, there's actually no official form that is a protection of claim that somebody in my wife's position would have filled out. In order to make a protection of claim, she would have had to physically, or her tax person, if he had knowledge, would have had to write that information on top of that form to submit it. Is that to your understanding, Your Honor?
I'll let the franchise tax board answer that. Ms. Chang, what form, if any, can a taxpayer file for a protective claim?
The taxpayer can use the Form 540X that's used for amended returns, yes, and write or label a protective claim at the top.
Mr. Rivers?
Yeah, and I guess that would be the concern I have, because I guess, it's like most organizations, they have a standard form in which is, to me, if they'd had one that said protection of a claim, then maybe that would have been more understanding on our part, and would have been something we might have been able to research. But it seems like it's kind of like you're just throwing an audible out there and saying, oh, well, you got to file this, the 540X, but just right on top, protection of claim. And I think, because that's not a standard form, and maybe that's where there's some ambiguity as far as the citizens are concerned, because it seems to be a kind of a one-off. It's not something that appears to be, oh, here's the form. Because I know you can go on the state franchise tax board, and they have all those forms. And I'll bet, I'm kind of challenging myself, but I bet I won't find one that says protection of claim, that it's something that has to be written in after the fact. And that's all I'm saying, Your Honor.
Well, that's a good point, but like you said, it's an audible, so somebody watching the game on television may not understand what the audible means, but people within that game would know it, and I would assume most tax preparers would know what a protective claim is.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you think dealing with CalPERS, dealing with CPA and lawyers, that somebody would know, but nobody ever mentioned that. And it's, like I said, it's something you have to write in, which kind of, to me as a lay person, kind of questions a little bit, but I understand. Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you for your point. So yes, the record is closed. Everybody have a great day. The next OTA hearing for today will begin at 1 p.m. Thank you very much. Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.